What's up, guys? Can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me. Give it a second. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Yeah, so my friend's coming over right now. He's a real estate investor as well. He's got probably, 250, almost 300 units in Philly. And we've been talking about the real estate market for probably the last 24 hours, like almost nonstop. So he's coming over. We're going to go get some food. We have a reservation in like 45 minutes. And I just want to hop on here and kind of share what we've been discussing, both me and him, about where we see the real estate market. So what I think, you can't hear me? Tell me if you can and can't hear me. You don't see me? I can see myself on the screen. What's up, Michael? So what I think is likely to happen with the real estate market is there's a couple things that could happen right now. So I want to give the dates. So if somebody watches this in 6 months or a year, we can see if my predictions are spot on. Right now, it's the 18th of June. They're talking about they're going to let up on the eviction moratorium. So they're saying 8 million people are going to be subject for eviction in the next 2 weeks. So 8 million people. I don't think that is very likely to happen. I think they are likely to probably extend it. But given the information that they're telling us right now, that is what they're going to do. They're saying 8 million people will be basically without shelter. They're going to start the eviction process. So if that does happen, we are going to start to see some real pain. I think the rental market is going to be where you want to be in real estate. But we have to be very, very careful about where you are investing because look at Gavin Newsom in California. Owning rentals in California sucks. I have rentals in California. It's a horrible situation. I have some tenants right now. One tenant went from communicating with me perfectly to now won't respond to any of my texts, nothing. And she pays rent at like $11.55 at night on the 1st. Still get paid. That's great. But if she didn't pay me, I'd be bleeding out $1,850 every single month on just that one unit. And there's nothing I could do about it. It would probably take me a year and a half to get her out of that unit from the month she stopped paying. Given the fact that Gavin Newsom will likely continue extending the eviction moratorium, like in New York, for example, they're extending the eviction moratorium until October. Like that is insane. They're not going to allow people to get evicted in the freezing cold weather. They're going to extend it likely till the spring. So that could be another year just staying, just absorbing that loss. So $1,850 a month for another 12 months. So you bleed out like, 35, 40 grand. Then attorney's fees, plus the court system is going to be so damn backlogged that you might bleed out another year. So you might lose $40,000, $50,000 on one door having just invested in the wrong area. That's why we're seeing people go to, Milwaukee and Minneapolis and Alabama, these places, because what's happening is it's an affordability crisis we're going to be stepping into. The expensive cities are going to get hit pretty hard during this eviction period. And people are going to be looking for affordable housing. So if a company like BlackRock or any of you guys want to invest in real estate, if you understand and know affordable neighborhoods, you're going to be able to buy into a neighborhood and it's going to hold its value because we have something called discount to replacement value. What that means is if you buy a property, say a little duplex for $100,000, and it costs you $150,000 to rebuild it today, essentially you're getting a $50,000 discount on brand new construction, plus you get the land for free. That is how investors are looking. They're saying, okay, I can deploy this capital, I can buy this property, and then what's going to happen is rents are only going to continue to rise without question. They're definitely going to rise because there's going to be more and more people that can't own homes. So they're going to go to the rental market. That plus you have immigration crisis. You have all these people coming into America that are not likely going to be able to qualify for mortgages. because they don't have 2-year stable income. They won't have a social security number. They won't have the cash reserves in many situations. So there's going to be a lot of people fighting for these rental properties. So this is what I think is likely to happen. I think that the landlord, like big corporations like American Homes for Rent, for example, they own 55,000 homes. And their whole business model, it's actually quite genius if you're a capitalist. What they do is they do surveys on neighborhoods that they buy properties in. And then they're like, okay, well, rent just went up from, I was listening to an article, or I was reading an article from the CEO of American Homes for Rent. And he's like, the average household income went from 82,000 to 90,000. This is my buddy here. I'm going to see right now if he wants to come and hop on live. Yo, what's up, man? Are you here?
Hey, I think so. I'm really close. I'm on, are you on Swing?
Yeah, just you cruise in the driveway. I'm going to leave the door unlocked for you. I have the gate open for you. You can just drive right in. Yeah, you'll see it. It's right on the corner. Eric has a Tesla. There's no car in the driveway. Yeah. White. Yep. Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see it. All right. I'll see you in a minute. There. So what he's doing is they're literally doing surveys in the community, and they're like, okay, median household income in this community is $82,000. It was last year. Now it's 90,000. So they just hit them with rent increases. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to continue to increase the rent. And the more people that need rentals, the higher the rents go. And so what I think is very likely to happen, I'd be really curious as to what you guys think about this too. So what I think is likely going to happen is there's going to be so much demand for rentals going forward, but it's just going to be the key of being able to weather the storm, because we all know that some problems are going to come. And you want to make sure you have the capital and you have the assets. You're liquid enough to where you can weather that storm. So American Homes for Rent, what they're doing is they're going to just start absorbing properties. Same with BlackRock, Blackstone. So that's where I see the biggest opportunity is going to be real estate in the right areas, in the right markets. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm studying and learning as much as I can about different areas, different pockets, seeing where things are going. Because I read a interview, this is like 1970s, 1980s online, about she was a liberal politician. She was talking about the pros and cons of universal basic income. And they were reviewing a little case study they did with 1,000 doors like 40 years ago of what happened. And what happened was the landlords all knew, okay, now people are getting extra money. And since they're getting the extra money, all they did was increase the rent, and they simply just funneled the rental income straight from the tenant straight to the landlord. What's going to happen? Biden's talking right now about a universal basic income. What do you think will happen? Same thing that always happens. Landlords will say, you know what? They're getting an extra $1,000 a month. They're getting stimulus on the first of the month, every month. They're going to hit them with a rent increase, a big one. And that's what I think is going to happen. I think these corporate landlords are going to run out there and start absorbing as many properties as humanly possible now and after the crash. So if you are an investor or you're thinking about becoming an investor, now is the time to take a step back and understand where the world's going. We have unemployment that's only going to continue to increase. Welfare is only going to really continue. Then we have AI, automation, tech, all that is only going to continue. There's going to be more and more jobs lost in the name of safety over the next 12 months that are going to push people into a level of dependence on Big Brother. So the question then becomes is, how do you invest? What do you do to position yourself to where you can weather any storm? And that is the dialogue that I wanted to have with you guys today. I'm curious, what do you guys think? What's the best thing to weather yourself in a real depression? Let me look at the comments section. Drop your comments in here. And while you guys are responding, I'm going to answer this call. I'm going to call him back. All right, cool. Yeah, come to the front door. There's a stroller out front for Jonathan. Yeah. All right, bye. Yeah, my friend, he's going to be here in like 2 seconds. He probably has 250, 300 doors in Philly. And now he's out in Florida, and I think he's probably going to expand out here. We'll see what happens. But me and him have just been talking 24/7 about real estate, where things are going. Because a lot of people are saying a massive crash is coming. A lot of people say no, it's only going to continue. but I pulled out 100K out of property at 3.5%. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I borrowed a little over $1 million on a property in LA at 2.9% interest. Like 2.9, it's like free money. The real problem though isn't so much like the low rates, it's just being in an area to where you have control over your property. Because you can borrow a ton of money, but if you're in a market, a very liberal market where you can't do anything and you can't collect rent, and you can have really inexpensive debt, but if no one has to pay you, then it's going to be difficult to sleep at night, especially if it's a big fat mortgage like $2 million or some big number where it's like 10, 12 grand a month, you're bleeding out. You have all these tenants. Buy apartments and high income areas. So the thing with high income areas, I agree. I think gentrifying areas, so adjacent to high income areas, is going to be really key. Just being right next to that, because what happens is the people from the high income areas that can barely afford to be there are looking to be in that community, just spend a little bit less. So that way you get a highly qualified tenant that has money in the bank, good credit. You can offer them a similar standard of living for 20% less, and you could take in less of a headache. What do I think of a REIT? I personally, REITs, it depends on what you invest in, right? I personally like the idea of being able to buy, own, and operate a property, understanding how to invest in it and having full control. I like that. But a REIT works really well for other people too. So it just kind of depends on your appetite for risk. What about a housing bubble? Will real estate get cheaper? My concern about the housing bubble, and I do believe we're in a massive bubble, like definitely. But the problem then becomes is when Biden and all these people are just printing trillions and trillions of dollars, what's going to happen? The dollar is going to devalue. So you want to get that money into something that's going to at least hold value. It might go down temporarily, but someone's going to hold value. Imagine if you were sitting on 10 grand from 1970. Now it probably has a purchasing power of $2,500. So that's kind of what's happening right now. They're just printing so much money, so much new currency is getting into the market. You don't have all your eggs in just cash. You want to have some assets. You want to be diversified enough, liquid enough to where you can move around and take advantage of opportunities when they come. But yet if the dollar really gets hit, you still have assets that are going to hold you above water. Good point, Rock. And I didn't even think about rent control. Rent control is brutal. If anyone knows what rent control is, it's essentially, the simple way to put this, it's a set of rules and policies, and inside of this guideline tells you what you can and can't do with your property. So it takes you from a place of having full control and ownership rights over your property and turns property owners into property managers. And as a property manager of this property, you have very little rights. You can't do anything that you otherwise would be able to do. And that's why you have so many people leaving places like LA and California and New York, and they're going places where it's on your side, Texas, Florida, where you have some property rights, because property rights are dying quickly in New York and California. What I think is very likely to happen, and this is 100% going to happen. California and New York, what we're going to see is we're going to start to see tenant activist groups and these housing coalitions grow in power and scale over the next 1 to 2 years in the name of protecting tenants. And at the name of protecting tenants, landlords are going to get hit pretty hard. So if you're going to invest in these cities, just make sure that you have the capital and liquidity to weather a big storm, weather a really big storm. But I'm really bullish on like red markets. So Republican markets where the system is designed for capitalism, because at the end of the day, you're owning, operating, and running a business. So you want to treat it as such. It's no longer political to invest in certain areas. It just comes down to common sense. If you're going to deploy 100 grand, you want to deploy it in an area to where the people want to see you win inside that market. Not a place like California, where I had a situation in California last year. Just going to court cost me $20,000. Like insane, $20,000 just to see a judge. And it's just a different animal. You go to New Jersey, pretty bad too. But in Florida, that $20,000 bill would have went from $20,000 to $100. So, and in Florida, you could literally buy a property and just do whatever the hell you wanted to it, as long as there's no active leases in place. You could just go do this or do that. In California and New York, if you sign a lease with somebody, let's say in 1990 for $1,000 a month, and now rent in that building or in that unit could be $3,000, but you never increase the rent. You can't go from $1,000 to $3,000. No, you can go from $1,000 to 1,000 plus like 3% or 4%, whatever it's allowable for that year. So you start to see like, okay, well, I'm screwed because I lost all that money. And that's generally what happens is landlords become friends with the tenants. And then at that point, they feel bad for increasing the rent. And then so they don't increase it 1 year. They don't, since they didn't increase it the year before, they don't increase it that year. Before you know it, 10 years, 20 years goes by, they try to sell the property and the property's not really making any money. And then the new landlord gets pretty much stuck buying a property that's overpriced that barely produces any cash flow. Did you hear about California proposing a law to buy 40%? Hold on one sec. My buddy German's here. Hold on. Open the door real quick. Yo, what's up, dude? Hold on, I'm just gonna finish up a live. You can hop on here if you want. Yeah, go for it.
This is similar to your place in LA.
Yeah, it's left. No, I didn't. 45% of the property to help with affordability. No, Mike, I didn't hear that. If you have a link, send me that. I would love to start doing some real research on that, and I'll do a video on it. Apartments, high income areas. What about housing bubble? Good point. Yeah, send me that link. I'll give you my email. We'll send. It's insane. Yeah, send it. Why don't you send it on my? You have my email, right? You should, or you can just actually DM me on Instagram. And I'll look on my. You can just do it right there. At ThisisJohnWilliams. All right, guys. I'm gonna go get some food, but I'm gonna do lives here probably every other day. So about 3 times a week, I'm gonna be going live on this channel. So subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll be notified as my next live. All right, guys. Have a great one, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, ready?
Yep. We can just drive over there. They have a bit for it.
Okay.